you have a plan going in, you can't circumnavigate that process of sort of articulating a plan for yourself and kind of thinking through. But you have to also simultaneously remain very spontaneous and allow for inspiration to emerge and be able to navigate challenges you don't expect. And the installation aspect is part of the process. So one, I had a very well laid out treehouse, totally different shape, totally different form. Once we got in there, the tree just dictated everything from there on out. And similar with the staircase, we couldn't figure out how, it's a point when one of the designers of the treehouse with us made eloquently that connection of the treehouse to the ground is often overlooked and just kills the aesthetic experience of it. And so we couldn't figure out how to resolve it. Eventually Shubash had the idea of kind of nestling this single beam staircase into the heart of the banyan tree. And it just worked out really beautifully, and it wasn't planned or thought through at all. You want to talk about the imagery of the murals and stuff? So these are the wall panels, the mural on the wall panels is made out of the mud, actually hand-filled mud. And it reflects the ecology surrounding the treehouse. So it goes from the mangroves up into the forests and mountainous areas and back down into the mangroves. So you get a 360-degree reflected within the walls of this space.
And it's also a lot of like zooming in and zooming out happening in it. So certain parts we have sort of zoomed in, and in certain parts the visual sort of zooms out. So you have the islands within the ocean, so that's a zoomed out view. But then it merges into this mangroves where you start, coming closer. And the whole thing, the way it was arranged was what is exactly there behind you. So you get an impression of that. So since it's a 360-degree kind of uh, relief sculpture or panel, like if you see this, this is what is exactly behind you, which is the mangroves. So if you see the islands, like that view, that's exactly behind you. So it was like an impression that's there behind you.
And it was designed during the experience. Staircase. That's shadows.
Can you see the picture of the staircase once more? How exactly is this made?
Sorry?
As in there's a center structure and then there's one plank going through.
Yeah.
And then another plank on one side going with banyan tree.
Yeah, that's supposed to be a shoe rail. And it deterred for people to come in this way. Because it forces you to walk around and there's a portal sort of in the banyan. You know how you get those openings within the banyan. So we really wanted to have that experience of entering into the tree and then climbing up into the treehouse. So we kind of created this as a barricade, but we liked that sort of form that came out of it. People are using it as steps right now, so it wasn't, should have been designed sturdier because people are actually walking on those and they shouldn't be walking on them. That secondary part. Ruchi, you want to ask a question? The shadow spread eagle, I don't know what he was working on there. The mechanism for how the treehouse, I mean, this is more sort of technical stuff that's not too relevant to you guys. This is the team. Yeah, so this is where you enter into so we wanted to have you walk in through this space and sort of enter into the tree. And this ring beam kind of reflects the form of the treehouse below in the ring beam, so you get a sense of the structural form just by looking up.
Yeah, the tree is the same. So if you notice, like there's this branch going through the wall, right? That is below this. And we came up with this idea where we thought, okay, there's this tiny little mud panel, and we didn't know what we can do with it. It was really small. So we thought, why not depict that branch on that mud panel? So when you align it up, it would look like you see the branch. So like exactly here, if you can see, like this bit. Yeah. So that also was the idea was like now later on when the tree grows, the branch grows, right? So you can sort of go there, look at that, and sort of determine. You can tell that when this tree house was made, how thin the branch was. So yeah, this is something that just came out somehow.
But the
These
tree
things
house
also
has
happen.
been designed for the tree to grow. I mean, as in
Yeah.
the way it's been sort of built into the tree. There's been, I mean, how would be possible, right?
Yeah, to
Give
leave
stability
space.
as well as space for growth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's very
you
complicated
space
design.
plus where it's joining, the joineries are all movable joints. So even if the branches move, the tree, the house doesn't move.
How?
That's the.
It floats.
It floats.
It floats.
But if it's floating, then what is it anchored to?
It's floating on these connection points.
Like that. It's
Technical
like
thing is that.
Yeah, but I think this technical thing would be quite amazing. Me and some others who are building
Yeah.
and who probably will be
I think
calling like hound dogs and
More important is the process aspect in that you can't short circuit the envisioning and inspiration and research component. If you do and you just try and be completely spontaneous, I suppose after years of doing something you can kind of circumnavigate that because it's inbuilt, but you have most likely something that is quite superficial, which I find a lot in people who are just totally spontaneous in their work, unless they've really worked for a long time at it. That integrity isn't there. So this is absolutely not what I planned. So, but without having gone through that sort of intense development and visualization, it wouldn't have had the integrity that it has. So, how like this window where the tree is wasn't planned. So we just had to respond to it and allow space for it, and then incorporate it into the mural. And so there's a constant process of change and response.
So you may have something planned, but then it can change. So you have to be open to that fact that it may change. But yeah, and that's how it works. That whole joinery of this whole thing, moving, floating thing. The
Figured it out.
way we had thought, we went there and we realized it's not going to work. And we had to, that day, the whole night, we were just sitting there drawing, figuring out what we can do for the journey.
Yeah.
We had to do that.
Because I mean, from your video, what you could make out was that it was really sort of a trial and error kind of process. When you were trying to put it like you were trying to put a beam in a certain way, then take it out, put it again, try it like this, various angles. I mean, it seemed to be like a pretty much response to sight.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that you talk about the pre of a process that's so visibly is really trying to figure out how you navigate around certain constants. Yeah, you know, not to be totally just.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible. I mean, like someone like yourself can do it in a weekend in a site, you know, but that's after years of being a practitioner. So, just kind of.
But that's interesting, is the sense of process.
So this was it before the mud came into it. Yeah. So that's the tree house. And then I was just thinking before Shail,